Cafe Networking podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Rioch, known as the King of Networking, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Joining us today from Kanata, Ontario, Canada, Bona Normandeau. She's the host of the Happier You podcast, a happiness coach and public speaker. So Bona, how to be happier and embrace your imperfect, authentic, unique self confidently?
Well, Tom, thanks for having me. I love talking about happiness because it's something that is fairly easy to demystify for people. Mm-hmm. It's not a destination. It's something that we can choose every day. And so what I teach people is figure out how to touch happy every day. And there's different tips and tricks that I teach. One of the biggest ones is gratitude. Just learning to be grateful for what you already have in your life. And instead of always comparing yourself to other people, you realize the blessings that you do have. Right. And that, what I find is as I teach different tools, I call them happiness tools for your happiness toolbox. Mm-hmm. The more of those that you have in your toolbox, you can touch happier more easily. It becomes a habit. And it just becomes routine to add more happy into your daily life.
I agree with you. I think we sort of shut ourselves out of the positivity that there is in the world. There's so much negativity. So it's like when we get up and you step out of bed, if you even turn on the news, you start your day almost unhappy.
Well, and I think that's what our culture has taught us to do, is to focus on the negative. Mm-hmm. and really look at what somebody else has, what I don't have. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm overwhelmed, I'm unhappy, I maybe don't love my job. You know, we always think that things could be better instead of focusing on all the beautiful things that I have and realizing that I have the choice. Everything in my life I've chosen to accept in my life. Right. And that can be a tough one for people. But what I love to do is just empower the person to go back to themselves and start taking control out of adding more happiness into their personal life. It's up to you. It's no one else. We're not victims. We choose what we allow in our life.
And I agree. We can't go out and buy happiness. I want 3 pounds of happy. You have to make it yourself, right?
Absolutely. And it's actually one of the ways I start when I talk to people. I'm like, if I could give you a box full of happiness that would do for the rest of your life, that would bring me great joy. Mm-hmm. But I can't do that. The best thing I can do is teach you how to add more happy into your life and empower you to do it yourself. Because yes, if I could sell happy, I'd be out of a job, I think.
But there's a lot of people out shopping for happiness.
Well, because that's how we're marketed to. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because we're told that when we lose 20 pounds, when we get the next promotion, when we get the bigger house, when we get the new car, that's what happiness is. It's always the next step, the next thing. We're never really taught that you're allowed to be happy now. You can figure out how to be happy. And if you don't like something, then empower yourself to change it.
Now, who are you looking for, let's say, as your clients? Do you talk to individuals? Do you talk to companies? Do you talk to communities?
So often what I found, so this started out as a passion project for me. Essentially, I had a huge aha in my life when a speaker said, "What's the dream in your heart?" And I looked around and it felt like everybody else in the room knew the answer to this question. And I was the only person who didn't even understand the question. So I went on a personal journey to figure out what is happiness, what is wrong with me, how do you even get a dream in your heart? And in the middle of this journey, I realized that what if I'm not alone? What if there are other people out there like me who just feel like there's something wrong with them? Like everybody else has life figured out except for me. Right. So I started on this journey, and I am going to answer your question, Tom, I promise. Mm-hmm. Who I talk to is, me of 5 years ago. So generally I end up resonating with women, in the middle-aged group. We're kind of at that point where we're sort of done showing up for other people, and we got to figure out our own personal happiness. Right. So I focus on women.
Mostly looking forward to a rest of the life that could be longer than the previous portion.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So mostly I speak to women. I've been in a few companies, always mixed gender, because we all want to be happier.
Hmm.
But my main focus, who I resonate with definitely is women, but all of my happiness tools work for everyone. So
But to
yeah.
that, then you started coaching.
Yes. So one of the things, and that again, that's been part of my journey, is to realize that, you know, to coach someone, you actually only have to be a few steps ahead of them. And one of the things that I really love is self-awareness. And
Hmm.
so as we continue on this happiness journey, we start to realize I'm helping people take a look at their life and
Right.
realize I like this, I don't like that, and that we have the choice to bring more beautiful things into our life, to invite more happy into our lives. And one of the best ways to do that is journaling. And so many
Mm.
people fight journaling because it's really talking to yourself. It's
Right.
communicating and being honest with yourself, and that scares people. And it's one of my favorite things to do in the world is just to help someone learn how to lovingly support themselves
Mhm.
through this journey we call life, and be your own best supporter.
And that's not only talking to yourself, that's registering those things so you can remember that.
Well, and that processing, absolutely. Well said, Tom, because I think people think about things, but when we put it down on paper, it's different. We're actually processing and honoring those feelings as opposed to just thinking them and then going, oh, that scares me, and backing away.
Very good. So then you became a speaker.
Well, yes. So, I mean, essentially, when you are in a podcast booth, you start just speaking to yourself in the safe space at home. But what happened is people started asking me if I could talk to their groups
Hmm.
um, because they've listened to me. What they've learned from me makes sense, and they're like, I really, especially coming out of COVID, a lot of employers wanted to help their employees
Right.
find happier and empower themselves because that
Hmm.
was such a disempowering situation
Well, that
and so much
worldwide, that
fear.
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So then you became happier. So your personal journey, once you felt happy, you decided I want to do more of it.
Yeah, and honestly, one of my favorite podcast episodes was my husband and I realized we came out of COVID happier than we went into it
Hmm.
because I actually launched my podcast. It was due to launch March 16th of 2020,
Mm.
and the world shut down.
Right.
And so I got afraid like everyone else, and I thought, oh, I can't do this. But like I said, this was my own personal journey. And so what ended up happening is I was processing all of these happiness tools and then sharing them with other people. So this was the conversation around our dinner tables. And this,
Right.
on Facebook, I created the Happier You Facebook group, and we started having these conversations with other people. And it expanded my world, and it
Right.
changed what we were talking about.
Right.
So when other people were talking about COVID and doom and gloom,
Hmm.
we were talking about ways to be happier. So the timing was incredible.
Well, you found something that many people did find at the same time. And what we do find is that one door closes, the another one opens. So,
So true.
everyone was on shutdown, but it was the opportunity to open up. And from podcasting, it was something you can do wherever you are.
And connect to people everywhere. That
And,
was the
and people
most
are
beautiful
looking. They
thing.
want to hear. They
Yeah.
want they want information. So
Yeah.
timing
So true.
timing was perfect.
Yeah. I wouldn't have called it, but
Well,
isn't it? Yeah.
sometimes, and you said that before, we need to be happy with what we get.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there we are. So to that, Bona, how can our listeners find you?
So I'm over. The Happier You podcast is anywhere you listen to your podcast,
Hmm.
and that comes out bi-weekly. Also, the happieryou.net is, what we call happiness headquarters.
Hmm.
I've always got different challenges and courses going on just to help people discover they're happier. So, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Very good. Well, thanks for being here. And I do have to say I'm happier now.
Tom, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this, getting to know you before the interview, but also the journey that you've taken me on in the interview. So thank you.
Well, no, thank you. So success.
Thanks, Tom. You too.
Okay. And again, it's Bona Normandeau. The first name is Bona the last name Normandeau. And you'll find her at thehappieryou.net and also on LinkedIn. Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Till the next time here at Cafe and Networking Podcast.